The empire that Red Bull has created has almost completely fallen. Clearly fallen apart, at least at the seams, Tim. Christian Horner fired, Laurent Mekies in, other people to talk about. This is, I think, the biggest story in Formula One since Lewis Hamilton moved to Ferrari. And that is saying something. We've had some great news. And what I mean by great news as in great news cycles, right? We've had incredible driver movement, the Carlos Sainz saga. This year is George staying with Mercedes? Is Max leaving, which plays into what we're going to talk about today? And, I think what has blown everybody away is that nobody saw this coming. There were rumors and that sort of thing, but there's paddock gossip about just about everybody unless you're winning. So, Tim, Christian Horner walks out in front of everybody at Milton Keynes at the factory today and tells them he's still employed by Red Bull, but not in a functioning capacity, meaning he's going to wait out his contract. Why did this happen?
Well, I mean, at the moment, Adam, we don't know, because Red Bull Racing and even Red Bull, the parent company, hasn't officially come out and say why any of this has happened, why they've let him go, what's the reasoning behind it. And obviously we can speculate, but, I did speak with a couple folks who were and are very close to this story. And you know what, Adam, there's a couple factors to it. I mean, obviously there's the Max Verstappen factor in all of this, that with Max, the performance of the car just hasn't been there. The performance from the team hasn't been there. And, you have to wonder, were the Verstappens a part of maybe forcing Horner out? But I think if you also look a little deeper, this has been on its way now for the last 18, 20 months. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the 2024 season, we started everything off with the Christian Horner, the allegations that he was cleared of, and then you had Christian Horner butting heads with the Verstappen camp. Christian Horner was butting heads with Helmut Marko. There was a lot of tension there. There was a rift. And then you had the Red Bull GmbH side of it, so the actual parent company, the Austrian side, and then you had the side that was from Thailand, the Thai side. And you had those two obviously in a bit of an arm wrestling match as well, in the Thai side supporting Horner, the Thai side owning 51% of Red Bull. They own the main share, where Austrian has 49% share of Red Bull, the company. And at the time, the Thai side was really backing Horner a lot. And I think, Adam, with, the brain drain that happened at Red Bull over the last 2-3 years, you had Rob Marshall, who was the first to go. Rob Marshall, obviously a huge component to building the aerodynamics of their race cars, flexi wings, all of those things. He goes down to McLaren. He becomes a massive part of what McLaren is doing in their car, especially the MCL 39, the one that we see now. And then you had the big fish. You had Adrian Newey, just didn't want anything to do with what was going on at Red Bull, packed everything up, left. Aston Martin signed him. And then you had Jonathan Wheatley, who, again, midway through last year, picks up, goes down to Sauber, becomes their team principal. And now you take a look at Sauber and just how competitive they are. I mean, they're doing incredible. They are doing better than Red Bull Racing is doing. And so you look at the car for this season, and even midway through last season, it just dropped off a cliff. And again, having so many struggles with this season's car, the inconsistencies of it, and that is going to obviously bleed over into the unhappiness level of Max Verstappen with the team, the unhappiness level with the performance of the car. And I think the Thai side looked at all of this, looked at the performance, and just basically said, look, we can't do this anymore. We're going to have to, we're going to have to let you go. And I think that is a big component to it. I think also trying to hold on to Max Verstappen is another component to it, which we can get into in a minute here. But there's no leadership inside the trackside garage anymore. And I think Jonathan Wheatley leaving, that was a sort of the straw that I think broke the camel's back, so to speak. He was such a huge component to that, Adam, that
he's a real vibes guy. And
Yeah.
and I don't mean to denigrate the intelligence or take away from the intelligence or the know-how or whatever he brings to each team that he's on, but he is a team builder, Tim. And you could see that with Sauber. They're excited to be there.
Yeah.
And Red Bull look a little morose. You could see it on their faces.
Yes. Yeah, there's a huge difference, right? In contrast, when you look at the two teams, even when, Sauber gets the podium with Nico Hulkenberg and you go down there and you see just how excited they are, how much celebration they're doing. You see the involvement from Jonathan Wheatley in all of that. You can see that a lot of the team members there look up to him. They do look to him as a leader. And so another one of those components leaving Red Bull Racing that's driven down, pardon the pun, the performance of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we take a look at this as a whole, I mean, yes, I do think there is the Verstappen effects, but I think also there is there has been the downward sort of spiral of this team. And even if we look at next season and you take a look at the regulation changes coming in for 2026, we're going to have new engines. We're going to have new cars. Red Bull Racing doesn't sign up with an OEM. Like they don't try to hold on to Honda. They don't do a deal with Ferrari. They don't do a deal with Audi. They don't do a deal with Porsche. They don't do a deal with Mercedes. And instead, it's, part of Christian Horner's idea that they are going to build their own engines and powertrains. And so they create Red Bull powertrains. And so now they're in charge of building their own engines for next year. And from what I've heard, and this is, again, paddock gossip and just rumors at this moment, but it doesn't sound like the engine program's going quite well just yet. And so that too could probably be stacked up on top of all this at the same time. So again, Adam, there's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of deep digging that goes into this. And yeah, hopefully we'll probably learn more from Red Bull over the coming days and weeks ahead.
Tim, this is a team that put together the most dominant season that Formula One has ever seen.
Yep.
And it's breathtaking how quickly this has fallen apart. 18 months. Yep. It's 18 months. And I look at this, and one of our contemporaries at the network, our coworkers, Chris Johnston, says longevity is a skill.
Yep.
And he's right. Chris has been in his work a long time, and he's seen a lot of people come and go. And it makes Red Bull was on an unbelievable run. 22 of 23 races won. Mm-hmm. And now most of the people that made that happen are gone, with the exception of a couple, Max Verstappen being the most important piece of that. And then I guess on the other side of it too, you're sort of left with this feeling of how much did the winning paper over the cracks that must have been forming? Mm. Because I look at the start of the 2024 season, and the thing that sticks out to me the most is you said you were in Bahrain.
Yep.
You were talking about how great Red Bull's car was. Mm-hmm. We were talking about, McLaren looking like, not great. Ferrari might have something this year. They look fast. Mercedes still hasn't figured it out. Lewis is leaving next year. They really had the opponents on the ropes last year. They really did.
Yep.
Like the even if McLaren had caught them, which they did, had Red Bull put together a strong enough season early on, they would have been untouchable for both championships, both the drivers and the constructors. I look at this now, Tim, and I ask you, where do you even begin to unravel the thread of where this all started. Like, I'm trying to figure out, other than, and I think the first crack we saw was the Christian Horner scandal, the WhatsApp scandal. From there, it just never, it seems like they were kind of white knuckling, trying to hold on, but everybody left pretty quickly. This does sort of point us back in that direction a little bit and go, it feels like to me there's more there that we don't know. Or there's something there that all of those people felt uncomfortable continuing to associate with. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I mean, the thing is that we just don't know, right, Adam?
Okay.
Like, that's when it all comes down to it. We literally just do not know. I don't know what it's like to be fired or let go from a big, powerful position where you're making lots of money. Like, do they take your badge and do they say, see you later? You're not talking to anybody and they carry you out by security? Or do they give you a stage and a presence and a microphone and a bunch of cameras and allow you to go up there and talk to all the employees about how great your run has been and how great this team is and everything? I don't know how that works, to be honest with you. Like, if they're letting him do that, then yeah, I mean, what else could it be other than performance and maybe the friction between himself and the Verstappen camp and not wanting to lose Max? When we take a look at where maybe all this began, on the performance side, I would say go back to 2023 Spanish Grand Prix. They introduce, I believe it was a new floor, pretty big component, and the car actually takes a turn. You don't necessarily see it with Verstappen's driving, but you see it with Sergio Perez's driving.
Yes, you do.
Where it just takes a huge step backwards, and then it's just a fight from then on out for Sergio all the way up until they buy him out of his contract back in the wintertime.
Which is not cheap, by the way. No. That's also expensive.
That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously that as well. Put that in there. And then, Adam, the second seat is such a glaring such a glaring thing that you can't not acknowledge that this car has been going in the wrong way for quite some time now. Like Sergio, like I always said on here, he's not a bad driver. He's not that bad. So,
I mean, he's probably going to be back in F1 next year.
Most likely. So that's where it sort of all kind of started from the performance side. And you've had both drivers at that time expressing to the team about the direction that they were going in with the cars. And time after time after time, it just didn't seem like they were listening to Max. It didn't seem like they were listening to Sergio. It was more along the lines of, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to go in this direction and just figure it out, guys. That's what it kind of sounded like during those times. So, I mean, that would make your driver very unhappy. Both drivers very unhappy. So, Adam, when we take a look at it, it does look like performance. Again, we just don't know because Red Bull hasn't said anything. So it's really hard. This is all basically just rumors, speculation, and me talking to people who are close to the story.
So what you can distill from what you've heard, right? Because obviously, yeah, Red Bull's not, and Red Bull probably are not going to make any sort of public comment about this. There's probably already an NDA signed from both sides, and we're never going to know.
More than likely, yes.
That's usually how these things go. Maybe something leaks out. It sounds like a stacking of bad things. And a couple minutes ago, you mentioned all of the bad things. Maybe the powertrain's not doing well, relationship with Max Verstappen falling apart, and I want to talk about that next. Second driver, skill level, maybe not up to snuff, although I have to say I think Yuki's fast. I think the car sucks. Not listening to the drivers, not having a succession plan for the diffusion of talent that left. I want to talk about the relationship because Red Bull has always been a fractious team. This is a team that are constantly at each other's throats. And when it worked, it drove the best out of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Helmut Marko, for all of the criticisms I have for him for what he says in the newspapers, has developed an incredible driving program. Half the grid is from, Helmut Marko picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have let a lot of great drivers go, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, Albon and Sainz and whoever
Gasly.
else. Yeah, Gasly, all performing well elsewhere. And Red Bull put millions and millions of dollars into those drivers to get them to F1. So that's a lost asset as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the relationship between Max Verstappen, his camp, and Christian Horner? What was it in the waning days of Christian's time at Red Bull? What was it really? Can you give me a sense of where they stood? Because I got the sense years ago that they really liked each other.
I think it's probably not as bad as some people may think. They were cordial. They did speak. It wasn't like Max actually hated anybody. Now, when it comes to Jos and Max's manager, I think Raymond Vermeulen did his best to, manage the situation. I'm not too sure how much Jos helped in all of that. There was definitely friction between Jos Verstappen and Christian Horner. But for Max, it always comes back to performance. And maybe Christian promised him some things and never delivered. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's all speculation, really. But their relationship wasn't horrible, I would say. Like, they were on speaking terms, and Max treated it like business.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
What would be the main friction between Jos and Christian?
Oh, buddy. That's a whole other thing.
Is it an oil and water thing? Is it an ego thing? I mean, I know
they never got along, man.
They never got along. That was just always.
I mean, they maybe they did when they were winning. The car was great. Everybody was happy. I mean, when you're winning, it cures everything, Adam. Right? It doesn't even matter. It cures everything. And you know that. It's like every other sport.
Yeah.
Like any sport, when you're winning, things are great. Everyone likes each other. No one's mad at each other. But when you're losing, oh boy, right?
Right.
The wheels come off the bus real quick. That's why you have to be good with relationships, good at team building, good at being a team leader to keep everyone together. It's hard. So where their relationship between Christian and Jos went awry, kind of seems like it's leading into the 2024 season. That's where it kind of looks like it all sort of fell apart.
There's always been a uneasy truce between Helmut Marko and Christian Horner. I mean, even Mark Webber acknowledges that in his book. We all know it. We also know that last year there was a push to get Christian Horner out of there by the Verstappen, Helmut Marko side of the garage. They found some sort of peace. And how hard that push was, we don't really know, but we know that there was a push. And we know that Jos was very publicly trying to speak to Toto Wolff. And we all saw the photos. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it.
Yeah, like you saw it.
Right,
you were there. Like I'm not going to be gaslit into saying, "Oh, well, that didn't happen." It 100% happened.
100%.
There was a push. There was a power struggle. There was an uneasy truce again, and that's happened for most of the 20 years. Helmut Marko was good friends with Dietrich Mateschitz, who was the founder of Red Bull. That's why he's there. But he also had serious success bringing guys like Vettel and Ricciardo and Kvyat and all the other guys, Verstappen, everybody that they brought in. I am curious now and we'll talk about him later. I don't want to go too much into his hiring, but Laurent Mekies, who's a really interesting character in Formula One, and his backstory is cool, and he's really worked his way up, like Arrows and Minardi, and worked for the FIA and Ferrari with Vettel, and how much of the garage control now belongs to Helmut?
Hmm. I don't know if that's really his forte.
Which is so, and that's why I say that, Tim, is that he doesn't work for the Red Bull F1 team. They love to tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's obviously their motorsport advisor, so he'd be the one who looks for the younger talent, brings the younger talent through, helps manage the talent, like the drivers. The garage and the leadership. That was like Jonathan Wheatley, right? Like that, he was a sporting director. That was Jonathan Wheatley's sort of place, and then they promoted Jean-Pierre Lambiase, Max's engineer, but it's hard to understand like how high up they promoted Jean-Pierre Lambiase. Is he that sort of sporting director? If he is, I mean, how is he able to do both? How is he able to work with Max and also handle that job as well? That would seriously overload somebody. So I don't think there's just any leadership within the garage. I don't think there's really any leadership within the technical department now either, now that Adrian Newey's gone. So it's all of these big pieces, Adam. Like it's just, like I said, it's like this brain drain. Like it's just, there's no one left. Like the leaders are gone. All the top dogs at that team are gone. They need to start bringing up the younger engineering talent that they have. And is it even good enough? Have they learned enough that they can be leaders, right? These are all the questions that Laurent Mekies is going to have to dig into and see what he's got. Because at the moment, there is no leadership in there.
There certainly is not results either. And with Adrian Newey leaving, what we were told was, hey, Red Bull's going to be fine. Pierre Waché is taking over. And he is going to be the guy that's going to sort of lead them into the new engine regs and the new body regs, and he's the guy that he will be the new one. Now, nobody's expecting him to be Adrian Newey. I don't think there's ever going to be another Adrian Newey, but they already had a good car, and hey, you could probably improve on that, at least for the next few years. What is his ownership of where the car is, and how much of the car that he has developed with his team based on the feedback Max Verstappen has given? Because oftentimes we talk about on this show, the way Max likes a car is very different from like the rest of the entire paddock. Everybody else would not like the car that Max drives. Red Bull, from what we have been told time and time again, they're giving Max the car he wants. And now it's being turned in on itself like, well, Max actually doesn't like the car, but he's such a great driver that he's able to get the most out of it that no one else can get. I don't know which way to turn on this one, Tim.
Yeah.
So what's the relationship there? What's the ownership from the technical team headed by Pierre Waché? And what's the ownership for Max? Because, if the car is underperforming, but it's the car Max wanted, maybe Red Bull's got to be the one that steps in and goes, yeah, Max, I know you think you want that. You probably don't. Where does that part of this team stand? Because that has got to be the critical piece.
Is it the fact though that Adam, that they weren't listening to Max when he told them what he wanted?
Is that what happened?
Is that the question? I mean, it certainly at some points has sounded like it over the past few years, and this is where they've ended up. With Pierre Waché, I mean, definitely have your work cut out for you when Adrian Newey leaves. When you've got a leader like that who can see the car in a holistic way, can understand what a driver wants, can understand what a driver means when they're explaining things about the car in a certain way. I think that is very important. I think that's what makes Adrian, another part of him, so special, is that racing background that he holds. He's able to understand the drivers more and more of what they want and can deliver that. I wonder what Laurent Mekies will do with the technical department when he comes over, because he's got some good talent there. I'd wonder what happens with a guy like Jody Egginton. Like, does does he get moved over?
Now, for anybody that doesn't know, who is Jody Eggington?
Yeah, like it just basically another. I'll get you his exact title, but essentially another engineer that can really help with bringing along a car. Right now, he's a technical director down at Racing Bulls. We've seen now how good that Racing Bulls machine
it's been great.
Is. Yeah,
solid as a rock this year.
That's his car. So he has developed that car. So it's like, okay, well, these two teams are so similar. They're even at the same factory now. How did Red Bull get their car in such a wrong direction? Mm-hmm. And would they be better off if they had have gone in the direction that maybe Racing Bulls went into? You know, those are some questions that they're going to have to discuss. I mean, Laurent Mekies is going to have to come in there and take a strong look. He's might have to make some big decisions, because I still like, is this a team? Like, I think the question now also moving forward for Laurent Mekies is this a team that's still regressing, or is this a team that is now currently rebuilding?
Right. Does he have a championship level staff, even if the car is not there? Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
You know, there are teams that have a championship level staff that will get there with the car in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Does he have that? That's got to be the first question he has. And he's got to start with the technical department, I would think, Tim. Like that, you're going to have to do a full deep dive in that. And you're doing it in the middle of the season. Belgium's coming up, right? There's a lot of work to do. I don't imagine he's going to see home very much, Laurent Mekies. Why is he the one they went with for this role? Because this is a guy, like, for a lot of people that don't know, they're like, oh man, like, if you look at it just from the outside and you don't know his history, you might go, they're pulling the Racing Bulls guy in? Like, that's a big thing. He's gonna have to deal with some big egos, big money, big opinions. Is he ready for this? Now, his career goes all the way back to, as I said, like Arrows, like 20 years ago. He's worked for Arrows, worked for Minardi, worked with Sebastian Vettel very closely at Red Bull and Ferrari. This is a guy that has a ton of experience, Tim. Why do you think Red Bull Global picked him to move up?
Well, again, experience is the main reason, like, why they brought Laurent Mekies over to be the CEO and team principal. I'm actually quite surprised that he's both, but here we are. I think they were impressed with what he had done down at Racing Bulls. He'd only been there for a year and a half.
Yep.
But had really turned the team around. I mean, that was a team that was, you know, they're a backmarker. That's what they were. Now they're terrible. Now they're consistently with two rookies, you know, fighting to get into points on every weekend, and they have a very decent car. They've updated it quite well. They've been able to bring Liam Lawson, you know, sort of back from the dead, so to speak. I mean, with the confidence. And his experience with the teams that you had mentioned, the FIA, Ferrari. So he brings like a massive bag of knowledge with him. He's a motorsport guy. That's his background. He's lived, eat, and breathed it. You need motorsport people with technical backgrounds to sit in these roles. And that's another big thing, Adam, that they also are looking at. I mean, Laurent Mekies has a technical background. You take a look at Andreas Stella, technical background, and then you have, you know, Zach Brown handling the business side, the contracts, the sales, the marketing, the drivers, the contracts as well. You look at what Aston Martin is doing with Andy Cowell. Again, technical background, team principal now. So you're starting to see teams go in this direction. James Vowles, another perfect example. Technical background, racing guy, used to race. So you're, like I said, you're starting to see these teams go in this direction where they're using engineers, former engineers, to be the team principal, to work on the technical aspect of the team and the car, to build a team. And then you've got someone else who's sort of managing everyone else. So that's why I said it. It's a little strange why they would make him also the CEO. I wonder where Red Bull, the parent company, may come in and play a role when it comes to sales, marketing, the business. Sure. Sort of take that away from Laurent Mekies. I don't think he needs to, be involved in that, because he's going to have his hands full with other things.
And that job becomes a lot easier, marketing and sales, when the car's winning. So focus on the car.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Adam, he's got another big thing he's got to deal with, and that's trying to keep Max Verstappen at the team. So he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Max for a second. How close is he to leaving?
Close.
How real are these rumors?
They're real.
They're real.
Yeah.
And it's Mercedes, right? Like, we're talking...
Yeah, Toto Wolff's talking to Raymond Vermeulen. That's no secret now. But I think the bigger questions are, when would Max leave? Again, no one really knows what the exit clauses are in Max's contract, the performance clauses. No one knows. Christian Horner knows. Raymond Vermeulen knows. Max knows. Max's dad probably knows. And I'm pretty sure, I'm assuming, Toto Wolff might know as well. So when you take a look at it, let's say the main one that people stick with is the top three. Max needs to be in the top three by the end of July. And if he is, then he can't trigger his exit clause from his deal. Now, if he falls outside of the top three in the Drivers' Championship, then he can trigger it. That's when Mercedes would move in and most likely sign him up. Or maybe Mercedes buys him out of his deal. Maybe there's a deal there.
Would they just write Red Bull a big check? Is that how that works?
That's stroke a big check. Maybe they cover off. I don't know. I'm just throwing things around. This is speculation at this point. Maybe they cover off half of his deal and give Red Bull Racing whatever, and then they sign Max up probably at a lower rate, I would assume, and bring him over and partner him with either Antonelli or George Russell. I'm assuming it would probably be Antonelli. But again, I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I mean, there are some people who really feel that this is going to happen, but then there's another group of people who really feel that it's just not. And I'm kind of in that camp only because if you're Max Verstappen, you have no clue what next year's car is going to be like.
Exactly.
And it's a total refresh.
Crapshoot.
No one knows. I mean, Audi could come out of nowhere and be the team to beat.
Yep.
That could happen.
They could be Expensify GP. We don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. Yeah, that's a good one. We just don't know. That's the thing. And so neither does Max. Okay. And so what happens if you get that wrong? If you really get that wrong, you are not going to look good. I'm not going to say it's the end of your career, but that's a huge dent.
It's a gaffe.
It's a big one.
Tim, the thing I also would wonder, and this is where I tend to be in your camp as well on this, not because he can't end up at Mercedes, but why do it before 2026?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I also question, this is now the guy that brought you up through the ranks, believed in you, made sure that room was made for you and everything is gone. And you're the 4-time champ. The only other person that's done it like you is Vettel, and I would argue Max's run has been more impressive than Vettel's. And no disrespect to Vettel fans or Sebastian Vettel himself, but I think Max is the better driver, and I don't think there's a lot of
he's generational. He's generational talent.
There's not a lot of debate about that. This is now, Tim, I would argue, Max's team.
Yes.
Because Red Bull Global have made this decision, everything must hinge on Max staying. Therefore, kind of what Max says goes. And here's Max's opportunity to go, you didn't listen to me before. Now grab him by the collar and go, "You're going to listen. And you got 18 months to figure this out or I'm gone."
Mm-hmm.
Actually got a year to figure it out. 18 months from now, though, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
And if they figure it out, Tim, he is the king of that team in a way that literally no one else could be unless your name is like Bruce McLaren and it's the 60s. Because your name is on the friggin' team. Like this is, he will, maybe he doesn't own stocks in the team, but he will own that team. So
it'll be his team.
Yes. And it will be his team for years and years and years and years, like a decade, if he wants that. How do you turn that opportunity down? Mercedes can't give you that. Mercedes had a limit with even with Lewis Hamilton. They had a limit. With Red Bull, the sky's the limit, I think. This is the most marketable athlete in the entire Red Bull stable. This is their marketing plan's golden child. He knows that. He must know that. I feel like there's a lot more to be gained by staying at Red Bull and finding success there, even if next year's power unit kind of stinks. If they're able to improve it over the course of the season, if you're Max, why leave? That's just my thought.
If next year's power unit and car don't come together and it's not competitive, there's no chance of Max Verstappen staying there.
Okay.
He's gone. There's no way they hold on to him. Doesn't matter if it's his team or if it's not his team. I don't think he cares. I think he just wants to win. That is it. He's got a short window right now. Like he's entering his peak years, right? Like, you know, and they're only going to go for so long.
Yep.
And with an F1 team, Adam, and you have a regulation change that's this big, if you get it wrong, you could be looking at like 4 or 5 years of trying to get back to the front. Like this could be a very long road ahead. So that's why I think that he sees it through to 2026, sees what the landscape is, sees who has the equipment, and if it's not him, then he goes to the team that has the equipment to try and win more championships and, you know, go down in the record books again in Formula One. So that's what I think happens. Now, again, none of us, you know, totally know what's going on here. We know that there are conversations being had, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen. There is a side of people who think this is going to happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's another side of group of people that think this isn't going to happen for another year. So that's where that sort of sits with Max. The thing is that he's not happy. He wants to win. He's not winning right now. And next season is going to be very, very, very important of what happens with Red Bull Racing in their powertrain division.
Christian Horner, outside of Ron Dennis, is the winningest team principal in history. So he's got the second most wins. He has 124.
Yeah.
In 405 races. So basically he won one in every 4 races.
That's wild, man.
And Ron Dennis is at 138. So
what a stat.
It's a crazy stat. Can you name the drivers that drove for Christian Horner over the last 20 years? Even though it was a dramatic bunch, it's actually a shorter list than you'd think.
Let me try.
So let's go through it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 drivers, Tim.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's start with
go with the obvious.
David Coulthard. We'll start. I just want to go at the beginning. We'll go with David Coulthard. I'm going to draw this from memory, folks. We'll see how good I am. Coulthard, Weber, Liuzzi, stand by, Vettel. I don't know. I'm losing it now because Weber and Vettel were together for a while. Kvyat, Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen,
Yep,
Pierre Gasly,
yes,
Alex Albon,
Yes.
Sergio Perez,
Yes.
Liam Lawson,
Yes.
Yuki Tsunoda,
Yes.
and I'm missing
2.
2 drivers. Good
And they're tough
Lord.
ones.
We're going back. I want to say no, not Scott Speed. He didn't go to Red Bull. He went to Toro Rosso. Which year?
Oh, I don't have the years. So I would say that the years are that weird interregnum where Vettel had had a couple extra weird teammates after Weber left, and they were searching until they found Ricciardo before Kvyat.
Wait, didn't it go Vettel Weber right away? Because I think it did.
Oh, maybe it did.
Right? Because I think Weber retired.
No. Sorry, after Weber.
Okay,
But before Ricciardo.
oh, because I think it was Ricciardo, wasn't it? Because Weber retired in 2013, I think it was.
Okay.
So I think he retired in 2013.
Okay, he might have been actually. No, this guy's really early.
Okay, so we're going back to like the very
go
first.
to the original Red Bull.
Oh, buddy, Christian Clean.
Christian Clean is one.
Okay, and because
Reserve driver.
Knew Christian Clean. Reserve driver. What year?
2006. Controversial incident with Fernando Alonso.
Controversial incident with Alonso.
You got a 2-second qualifying penalty for it.
6. That was the year Fernando won the championship. Dang it.
Dutch driver.
Oh, Robert Dornbos?
Yes!
Yeah.
Well done. The other Dutchman to race for Red Bull. Robert Dornbos, not to ever be forgotten. By the way, he was posting about it on his LinkedIn today. Why do I follow him on LinkedIn? Because I love F1.
I actually didn't mind Robert Dornbos. He's actually kind of a nice guy.
Oh, is he a nice guy? That's great.
Yeah.
He's a motivational speaker now, which I think is
Oh, no
cool.
way.
Yeah. And
Where
he
are
posted
they now?
about Christian and said, love the memories and that sort of thing. So now that let's shift focus here, Tim. Let's shift focus to Christian Horner himself and his future. Because as I told you, he's the second winningest team principal ever. Like with Mattia Binotto, you expect that somebody's going to take a chance on this guy, right? Already today, there were rumors that the Red Bull payout of Christian Horner's contract, Christian doesn't need money anymore. So what are you going to do? One of the teams that came up was Alpine. They are very clearly for sale, at least in part, right? We've seen they're open to investment. We saw all the celebrities that invested in them, right?
Yep.
And they had Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney and Pat Mahomes and all that. Does Christian Horner buy into that team? Flavio's obviously, he put out a nice post. Does Christian Horner buy into that?
Did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Flavio's he did. He put out a nice thing. He's a charming guy. Does he buy into that team, take them over, and become the team principal, CEO, whatever he wants to be there? And remember, guys, for people that don't know, Christian Horner was an owner, I believe, of an F2 team.
F3.
And so he's done this before, right?
So yeah, I was going to try and race for him back in 2004 in his British F3 team. So
now there's a story.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Back. I mean, we are going back, buddy. That was I think that was 04 with his British F3 team. But yes, him and his dad owned that. So yeah. Well, I'm dating myself here, Adam. So, but anyways, yes, he has owned F1. He has owned racing teams before. Could he do it again? I mean, he pretty much just came off of doing that. So he just didn't own it himself, but he did everything. But he
ran it. Yeah. So the owner operator thing, he's done. The other one I heard, Tim, was, and this is a weird one because Ferrari rumors keep popping up about Fred Vasseur.
Sure.
And there was that story out there that John Elkann had made a real push to get Christian from Red Bull even last season, which is weird to me because they just got Freddie Vasseur and he was turning the team around. Which are either scenario likely? Is Fred Vasseur's job under fire and more under fire now because Christian Horner is available? I mean, he's the reason Lewis Hamilton's at Ferrari. What do we think?
I couldn't see Christian going to Ferrari. I couldn't see that. I couldn't see him, picking up his whole life, family, everybody, moving everyone to Italy.
Yep.
That part of it, I don't know if I could see. Ferrari's got their problems, but their problems aren't Frederick Vasseur problems. Like, those problems they're above Frederick Vasseur. I think Frederick Vasseur tries to protect the team from everything that comes sort of down.
A lot of politics at the Ferrari brand.
Yeah, maybe a little too many. I don't know if Horner would want to deal with that, seeing as how much control he had at Red Bull Racing. He most likely would be looking for something that's similar to that. I mean, why would you take a big step down, right? I mean, you wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense. Does he ever need to work again? I mean, probably not. He's good to go, right?
It's not about needing to, though. This is motorsport.
Yes, exactly. And he does seem like a lifer to me. I mean, spending 20, 21 years within Red Bull Racing, having your own F3 team, being a former driver, all of those things, it's in your blood. You're not leaving it. You don't want to run away from it. Maybe take some time and think about, what exactly he wants to do. But yeah, the thing that you had mentioned with Flavio Briatore, I find very interesting. The two of them are friends. They do like each other. They do talk to each other quite often. Is there something there? I would think so. Yes, I would say that if I'm Christian Horner, that's probably not a bad place to go. You could still live at your home. The factory is still in sort of the motorsport valley, if you would want to call it that, in England. So
Edgestone's not far from Milton Keynes?
Not too far. No, they're all kind of sort of grouped together.
I mean, he also
Silverstone.
He can take a helicopter. We all saw the thing.
Sure,
he's married to a Spice Girl. He's made tens of millions. They're fine.
Those places aren't necessarily too far, away from each other. Once you get over there and drive around, you kind of learn a lot about it, and everything's kind of close to each other in a way. I could see him going to Alpine only because at the moment they could use a lot of help, and they are a rudderless ship. Flavio Briatore is not going to be doing this forever. His mandate, if you will, is to try and help turn this team around, get it valuable again, and see what happens. I mean, they are struggling with their driver lineups, right? They're struggling with what do they do for next season and building this car, team personnel, try to get new talent in. I mean, it's best if you would let someone like a Christian Horner come in and take care of all of that for you, because his fingers have been in F1 and the F1 pies and all the other teams. He knows where the talent is. He knows how to go and get it. Only makes sense, right, Adam? Like that, to me, only makes sense.
Kind of feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, how do you think Pierre Gasly would feel about having Christian Horner working at the same friggin' team again?
I mean, hey, man, this is Formula One, right? That's why you don't burn your bridges. I don't think Pierre burnt any of his bridges with Christian anyway, so I think he would be fine with him there. I mean, again, this is all speculation and good fun to try and guess where Horner could go, but if I were to guess, I would say, if I were to put money on a spot where Christian Horner could go, I would say Alpine.
Okay. Now, I know that we need to talk about a couple of other things before we wrap this up, because this episode specifically is a real deep dive, right? We need to really flesh out this story, because we're 12 hours on from the announcement as of this recording, and it's important that when people wake up tomorrow and they see that this show is available, they get every piece of it that we got. And Tim, you've really dug today. I know that.
Oh man.
As much as you could, and what you've shared with us so far has been really interesting and enlightening. There's been some things in here I'm like, wow, okay. Chris Medlin tweeted this morning that Alan Permane will take over as team principal at Racing Bulls.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Alan Permane a little bit too.
Yes.
And so what's his background? I know Racing Bulls doesn't have like a huge group of fans, but they do have fans.
Yes.
And what's Alan Permane to Red Bull?
Well, I mean, Adam, when you and I did our podcast, how long ago was this? And what am I going back? Am I going back to? I think we're going back to 2023. Yes, when Otmar Safnauer got let go, Alan Permane got let go. This was during the Belgian Grand Prix weekend. This is a guy who you don't want to let this guy go. And of course, obviously, Alpine, whatever, they let him go, right?
I mean, they let him go with Otmar, right?
Yeah. Just Alpine is like so.
There was some hemorrhaging of talent at Alpine.
Yes,
I think it's fair to say.
But this is a good move. This is a very good move for them. I like the direction that they've gone in bringing Alan Permane up to be the team principal. Definitely is very deserving of it. I mean, Alan's been in Formula One for just so long, Adam. He's worked at Alpine during his time with Renault, Alpine, all of that for a very, very long time before making that switch to go over and when he got let go to making the switch to go over and working for AlphaTauri, then obviously Racing Bulls, and now to see him get promoted to a team principal role it's a good story. I think it's a smart move. It's a good move. He's again, another one of those technical minds, so to speak. He would be,
so he'll be able to continue their success.
Yes, that's the thing, right? It's it's having your technical leadership and you're putting them in a place where they can align all of the talent like Andrea Stella has and like James Valls has and really start to turn the team around. It's smart. They have Peter Beyer, who's the CEO at Racing Bulls, who does a great job there. Anyways,
he seems like a really likable guy, by the way.
He's great. I've gotten to speak with him quite a bit. He's fantastic. I like the move by Racing Bulls, what they've done there in bringing him up and making him the team principal of that team. I think this is going to be very successful for them for the future, for sure.
Question on Red Bull Racing before we sort of wrap up. They've been known as the program that is the most cutthroat in the sport, right? They bring up the most drivers, but they also cut the most drivers. And sometimes those drivers go on and find some pretty considerable success elsewhere. How do you think that changes, or do you think it changes at all?
I don't think it really changes much. I think it's
that is built into the Red Bull culture. I
think so. I mean, it's hard to remove that. That's 20 years of it, right? That's that's a part of who Christian Horner was, right? He's that bulldog that was always, being aggressive, going after you, taking a risk, all those types of things, right? That's what Red Bull Racing is. I don't know if you can change that culture at the snap of the finger. I don't know if Laurent Mekies would want to change that culture because it's been so successful for so many years. I think when we look at Red Bull Racing, they are going to be entering a new era, and I think you want to try and make sure that Laurent Mekies can steer this ship in the right direction. hold on to Max Verstappen, convince him that the car's going to get better, the team's going to get more competitive, they're going to recruit more talent to try and hold on to him. Because Adam, I just think he's you lose Max. I mean, this team would be in a world of trouble for so long losing Max.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I guess my last question to you, Tim, final, is there anything that we haven't covered here that we should?
We pretty much, touched on this all the way through. And I think, Adam, there are so many moving parts to the story that we just don't know. So there's a lot of speculation within our show today. There's a lot of rumor, gossip. And I think a big part of that is just because we never got a full in-depth explanation from Red Bull Racing as to why they let Christian Horner go. The press release that I had received that got forwarded to me by another journalist, I mean, it's like a paragraph, and Oliver Mintzlaff is the one who commented on it. He's on the Austrian side of Red Bull Racing, so it's just strange. It's just strange. It caught everybody out. I mean, I woke up this morning at 7 a.m. from a call coming in from the Netherlands, and it was about Christian Horner and what was going on, and I was getting the updates. And I didn't even know. Like, I just picked up the phone and it was like, hey, it's so-and-so. This is what's going on. And I'm like, what the hell? And it's like 7 a.m. Haven't slept in like what's felt like 2 weeks. And today was supposed to be a day off too. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? And I saw I had 60 missed messages on my phone. Obviously this news is a massive thing. And I think, Adam, you put it well off the top of the show, where this is something that is on the Lewis Hamilton level of news.
Yes.
It's right up there, man. And so I have so many more questions. I spoke with so many people today just to try and get as much info that like possibly could. And just even people I was speaking to who are close to the story gave me as much as they even could, and still just felt like not enough, So I'll be interested to see when we get to the Belgian Grand Prix, we do media day and start to hear some more stories and flesh this story out a little bit further.
Well, you know what, Tim? I appreciate you doing this. We're doing this late at night here, and I just want to say I appreciate our producer Hayden for putting this together and getting it online.
Yes.
I'm glad we waited, because just going to air with Christian Horner was fired isn't that crazy. I don't feel like that would have been a service to our audience.
No, I don't think so either. That's why I felt too.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we got at least the daylight hours to digest for details to come out. And now I guess we update this story as we go. There's no race this weekend, so not expecting to do a show Monday, but obviously if anything crazy breaks, we'll be on it. And Tim, in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the weekend off, my friend. I hope you get to do something else, like hang out at home. I don't know.
Going to the movies.
Absolutely. By the way, our social media manager, Justin Fisher, went to the F1 movie and hated it. Thought it was hilariously bad. I loved it, but I want you to know something. I have no taste. Terrible taste. I love a stupid movie, and I love Jurassic Park too. So that's part of me. Jurassic Park I saw the other day, Tim, in 3D.
And?
May have had an edible. Delicious. Such a good movie, man. Just saying. You should see it.
But you were high when you were watching it.
Well,
dude.
yeah. Listen, movies are all in your own head, right? It's all in your own head. So if it felt good to me, then it was a good movie to me. And that's all that matters.
Fascinating. I'm very fascinated by that, Adam. I heard Jurassic World made a ton of money, though.
It did. It made crazy money.
Did it?
Wow. I think it already passed F1. So it's. I mean, goes to show what a series can do, and I'm sure the next F1 movie, they're going to be hoping that it makes more money, right?
We can talk about that real quick about the F1 movie. So, did hear from Lewis Hamilton on that front. I didn't get to update you guys on that. after the British Grand Prix. That's my bad.
What? Okay, what did he say?
So it was interesting. He was asked about a sequel, and he kind of laughed at the idea only because like it took them 4 years to make F1 the movie.
Yes,
and he was like, he's like, at this minute, I was like, I don't know if Joe or Jerry want to jump back in and do another sequel because of how much work went into making this movie.
Yep.
So what he wanted to do was he wanted to get together with Joe, Jerry, the production crews, and see what they did wrong. How can they make another movie even better? And retool some things. And he said, that's what we do in F1. He's like, we have a bad weekend or we have a good weekend. Either way, we're going to do a debrief and we're going to say, what were the strengths? What were the weaknesses? How do we get better at the weaknesses?
Right.
And he's like, I don't know if Hollywood does that, but he's like, I would like us to do that. So we could, if we make a sequel or if we talk about making a sequel, we can make it even better. And I thought that was actually interesting. It's a good point. I highly doubt Hollywood does that. It kind of just feels like they on to the next one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we got another one coming in. We're not looking back. We're going forward. So I'd be curious to know if they actually end up doing something like that. But that's what Lewis had said about a sequel.
Well, I mean, Tim, listen, if it makes money, then I think they're interested. So, I feel like we'll hear from them again
for sure. It'll be interesting. I know there's a lot of rumors floating around out there already that there's going to be another sequel, but it didn't when Lewis spoke, it didn't sound like he had heard anything or thought anything of it, but maybe he did and he just wasn't telling us. Who knows?
There you go. Well, Tim, thank you for updating us on that. And at very latest, we will see you next week with Nailing the Apex. And we'll follow this story closely, my friend. Get a good sleep tonight. Very excited to read everybody's comments tomorrow about it. And there were some real gems in this episode. So great work today.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.